Hi everyone. So now we're going to look at a question that will appear on the foundation exam paper. It's aimed at about C grade, and here's the learning objective. It's basically solve an equation by trial and improvement. And as you can see, it's question 29 from an exam paper, so it's quite late on in the exam. It occurs quite often, sort of about 8 times out of 10 in the exam papers. And it's on the foundation paper on a calculator paper. So it says here the equation x cubed plus 2x equals 60 has a solution between 3 and 4. Use a trial and improvement method to find this solution. Give your answer correct to one decimal place. You must show all of your working. And this question is worth 4 marks, so it's worth doing it really, really well. So here's what we're going to do, and I would suggest setting it out just this way. So first of all, you're going to have lots of space for this, so I'm going to set out a table underneath. Just like that, with 3 columns. And then I'm going to put in x there, and then x cubed plus 2x, which is the start of the equation there. And then I'm going to write comments there. Okay. Feel free to press pause at any time if you need to obviously copy this down and so on. What you really need then is a really good scientific calculator. Now, you can pick these up pretty cheaply, but ideally if you get one that types out the equation on the top as you go, so you can see whether you've got it right or not. So what I'm going to do first of all, it says that this equation, this is quite a tricky equation to solve. So we're going to try and do it by trial and improvement, which means we're going to try a number, and then when it doesn't work, we're going to try and improve it. So x cubed plus 2x equals 60. It says it's between 3 and 4, so I'm going to start straight in at 3.5. Okay, so between 3 and 4. I'm going to try for 3.5. So this is what I need to do on my calculator. I need to do 3.5 cubed. And then, again, because this calculator types out along the top, I can see that that's happening there, so it's a good calculator. Plus 2 times 3.5. And that equals 49.875. Now it's a really good idea now for you to make certain you can get that on your calculator before you go on, because if you can't, then you've really got to address that first. So maybe you want to press pause now to ensure you can get that. There is another way you could do, is you could work out what 3.5 cubed is and write it down there, then 2 times 3.5, write it down there, and then add them up separately, and that's fine. You can do it in different stages. If you haven't got a cube button on your calculator, then what that means is 3.5 times 3.5 times 3.5, then add 2 times 3.5. So as I say, you need to make certain you can get that number first before you go on. Once you're happy with that number, the answer we were looking for was 60. So unfortunately, that is too small. Now I could go on and rush ahead and think, if that's too small, maybe I'll try 3.7, or that's a bit too big, and so on. But you must write it down at each stage. The examiner is looking for what you've written. So I'm now going to I might try 3.7 now. So 3.7, again, 3.7 cubed, or 3.7 times 3.7 times 3.7, plus 2 times 3.7. And that answer should be 58.053. And again, if you're not able to get that number, you need to speak to somebody about how you're going to do that on your calculator. Right, so I'm looking at that. I wanted to be 60, it's 58.053, so that again is too small. Okay, so right, that's too small, so I'm going to try now. Let's try 3.8. So 3.8 cubed, 3.8 times 3.8 times 3.8, plus 2 times 3.8 is 62.472. Now that one, we wanted 60, so that one's too big. Okay, so here's the key bit. I'm not looking for this bit here to be correct to one decimal place. This is going to be my answer. One of these is going to be my answer. And I want these to be one decimal place. So actually, my answer is already there. It's either 3.7 or it's 3.8. That's my answer, or that's my answer. And really, this is what we should do to finally check which is the right answer. I'm going to try now, I'm going to leave a space, and I'm going to try the number in between those two. I'm going to try 3.75. So here we go, 3.75 cubed plus 2 times 3.75 equals 60.234, and so on. Okay? Now, that, I wanted 60, and that's 60.234, so that is too big. Okay, so if 3.75 is too big, and 3.8 is certainly too big, so 3.75 is too big, then therefore it means that 3.7 is my answer. Okay, so 3.7 is my answer because that one in the middle was too big. So it's going to be that one there. Okay, so I knew it was either going to be that one or that one. That was just my final check there. That's never going to be my answer because that's got 2 decimal places. That's just my final check there to tell me which one of those it is. So my final answer is 3.7. Okay? So it would be worth spending a bit of time making certain you're happy with that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to flick on to another question. And what I suggest you do, I'm only going to go on for a few seconds, so you press pause to have a go at it yourself. I'll go on to the next question for a few seconds, press pause to have a go at yourself. There are going to be 3 questions, and then shortly after that I will give the answers for the others. Okay? Right, so as long as you're happy with that, here's your first question. Now I've written it up here as well, just in case I was worried about this being a bit too small. So your first question is, again, it's question 24, a late question. The equation x cubed plus 2x equals 110 has a solution between 4 and 5. Use a trial and improvement method to find the solution. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. You must show all your working. Okay, so if you press pause. Okay, here's the next question then. Very similar question. The equation x cubed plus 3x equals 41 has a solution between 3 and 4. Just put it there for you to see it a bit clearer. Okay. And finally, this one here. So, apologies, I've not written that up here, but here we go. These are all with 4 marks. So the next one is, it's x cubed plus 5x equals 67, and solutions between 3 and 4. Okay, so again, if you press pause. Okay, so hopefully you're pretty happy with your answers here. If you're not, you really should go and speak to somebody about it, get some help on it. But here are your answers. Now, I have written my set of answers here. You may have gone for different numbers here along the way, but ultimately your answer should be 4.7, hopefully, for this first one, for the x cubed plus 2x equals 110. For your second one, it should be 3.2. And there's a set, again, you've probably got different numbers along the way, possibly a different order of it, but 3.2 is your answer. And then finally, for the last one, the x cubed plus 5x equals 67, your final answer should be 3.7. Okay, every now and then, they will not necessarily tell you what the numbers start off between. So if I did have this equation that I had to use trial improvement before, and they didn't tell me it started between 3 and 4, I would just have to do my table as normal. But my first job would actually be to trap it between 2 whole numbers first. So maybe I try 4 and I realise that's too big. Maybe I try 2, maybe I realise that's too small. Maybe I'll try 3 and I realise that is too small, so therefore I'd know it's between 3 and 4, therefore I'd go to 3.5 and so on. Okay, right, so hopefully you're pretty happy now with solving an equation by trial and improvement.